Hi, this is Jose Perez, and this is my environmental issue project presentation. It's about Osaka, Japan. It's called Osaka Ruin Oneself by Extravagance. Okay, so Osaka, Japan is in the Honshu region of Japan. It's in the lower half near the coast. And the reason why I chose the city is because I love Japanese culture, and one day I really want to go to Japan. And maybe more than likely, I'm probably gonna end up going to Osaka, mostly because I love food and I love drinks, and Osaka is known as the nation's kitchen. So of course, a hungry person like me would love to go there. It's a big city, a lot of industry, a giant population. Unfortunately, that ultimately contributes to environmental issues. Um, Besides that, of course, it's a good chance to understand how other countries um, developed into issues and maybe developed solutions for all the different environmental problems they could have. So, Osaka is known as the city a cuidare. Um, it roughly translates into eat yourself until you fall, or eat yourself into financial um, and financial what is it, loss. Um, so, of course, it makes a lot of sense considering that it's the capital of eating, and they're known for dishes like takoyaki, which are like octopus balls, okonomiyaki, which are it translates to grilled stuff you like. So I thought that was cool, and of course yakiniku, which is very similar to Korean barbecue. Interestingly enough, it was actually developed by Korean chefs in Japan, so you can tell where the similarities came from. The underground shopping complex in Osaka's Umeda district has fossils from the Jurassic to Cretaceous period in the walls, um, which I thought was pretty cool. Osaka has roughly 3,395 temples. I got an example there in the top right corner. It's the second most in Japan, the longest shopping street at 2.6 kilometers with over 600 shops, and of course, home to one of the largest aquariums in the world. And I also think they have the first Universal Studios outside of the States. They had the first one. And the bottom right there, we have the famous Osaka Castle, that's actually the third incarnation of it. The first one was destroyed in a battle, and the second one from a fire started by lightning. Okay, and I made a graph of the population of Osaka from 1950 to 2020, and it had around 96 to 2000, and actually it started lowering, and then after 2000 to 2012 it was going up, but after 2012 it started decreasing. I think last year's growth rate was negative 0.12%. Of course, everybody knows about Japan's uh, population issue of it slowly getting older and the declining birth rates and less people getting married every single year. Here's the average weather in Osaka. On the left, we have average temperature in Fahrenheit over the year. They have a very similar year-round climate to ours. It seems, I'm sure it's a lot less hot than Texas, but it seems to cycle in a similar way. Rainfall, it's very heavy in June, very low in the winter. Very dry winter in Osaka. And here's the main issues. So the main environmental issues in Osaka are, of course, trash. And here on Figure One, you can see, the Osaka Bay being cleaned up. With a lot of industry, there's always to be a lot of trash everywhere. Second, we have a lot of waste water. It could come from industry. It can come from any sort of like population use, and air pollution from vehicles, and of course noise pollution, which doesn't sound like a thing, but I feel like it's maybe a lot of noise is not good for you. Right, so costs. Like I said, a huge industry. There's always gonna be a cost to it. Transportation means fuel, means air pollution. Construction is nonstop in big cities, which means lots of carbon and methane. um, water pollution from paint, diesel, solvents, and a huge population always means a lot of trash. And Osaka has one of the least regimented approaches in the country. As most people know, Japan can be very strict about how you take out your trash, where you could maybe have to separate into five different sections. Something like non-burnables, burnables, recyclables, non-recyclables, and stuff similar to that. And of course, Osaka just happens to have the least um, regimented one, so they maybe take it the easiest. I think that really goes hand in hand with just the appeal to the city and maybe the tone it tries to give. Um, so in Figure One, we have the Maishima incineration plant, which is not an amusement park, even though it does really, really look like it from certain angles. Um, know that they burn 900 tons of trash in there every day. Japan doesn't have a lot of land, so there's no space for landfills or anything like that. Usually, only 1% of council waste ever ends up in a landfill. So, of course, there's a lot of burning of trash in Japan. And, of course, a city with a lot of trains and still a lot of vehicles for transportation in terms of, industry stuff. There's a very, very heavy amount of noise. There's been cases of people going into stations and measuring the decimals, and it's maybe ranging to 100, which is double what the WHO or the WHO recommends. So, of course, I think, like I said, that could be an issue. That could, down the line, you never know, could cause a lot of maybe hearing impairment over time to the population. Here's my trend analysis. So, very similar to the rest of Japan, they're transitioning into like a low carbon city, promoting energy conservation and use of renewable energy. They formulated the here I have it in Japanese, Osaka Ichino Shikion Danka Tai Saku Keikaku, which is, of course, the global warming action plan of Osaka City. And they're hoping to reduce greenhouse emissions by 30% by 2030. They hope to further use geothermal heat pumps and solar energy to reduce CO2 emissions and, of course, energy cost. Working with the International Environmental Technology Center to help other cities and nations reduce their carbon footprint. For example, they've been working with a couple of cities in China, trying to help them, reduce their carbon emissions. All right. So, in conclusion, I would say maybe around the 1970s, Osaka was very similar to a lot of the cities in the States, or at least the big ones, where there was a lot of industry growth. There was a lot of stuff happening. Population just kept increasing. A lot of it was driving. Waste disposal was an issue. And industry air pollution and water waste, and any way you can get it. There was no regulation. It just go as you do. But like the rest of Japan, it's taken incredible strides in decarbonizing and waste management, and they have an incredible public transport system, and majority of the population doesn't drive anymore, and that's an issue we have. It really shows, like, as a country, what we could be able to do if we were we just pushed in a certain direction. I think Japan had to do it a lot sooner, considering how small it is. It really had to implement a lot of this stuff as quickly as possible. And I think we are very lenient compared to the way they develop regulation and keep themselves in check. I really do think that Osaka and the rest of Japan are, like a small hopeful look into the future, and hopefully one day we can keep up or catch up to them. And yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you for your time, and bye.